Most people want the cozy relationship, but healthy relationships are like sandpaper. Without the sandpaper elements, life doesn't go very smoothly. How can we flourish together with all of these things that make us separate and unique, but also one?
Adam and Eve somehow were in the same creature, and then God separates them. And then being separated, he gives them a means to come back as one. And that kind of unity is somehow better than the previously inadequate singularity of Adam and Eve being indivisible.
Hello again.
Hello again.
Now you're starting to feel more like a seasoned veteran of the naked gospel.
I'm a real podcaster now.
You did say when we were done with the last session, I just wanted to see how you're feeling. And you're like, that was easier than I thought it was going to be.
I did feel a lot more comfortable than I thought.
I felt like I'd spent weeks telling you it's not going to be that big a deal.
You did.
It's mostly us.
Yeah.
But you didn't believe me.
I guess not. Yes, the inner turmoil of my own anxieties. Hard to hear over that.
It turns out it's not so bad sharing my company in a different setting.
Not shocking.
Yeah.
No, I enjoy just talking to you anyway. And it was just like we were talking.
Mm-hmm.
What do you know?
Kind of like it here.
Kind of like it here.
Do you have something of a recap for, let's say, somebody's jumping in right now? They missed episode 151 where we started with Genesis chapter 1. What would you say are the high notes from that session?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, the first commandment that was given in Genesis 1 is be fruitful and multiply. Our sexuality matters. I actually heard something from a book called Reclaiming Sexuality that I'm listening to right now. And she said, when God created our bodies, he wasn't like, okay, head here, shoulders there. And then he didn't complete us and then like slap our genitalia on and go running. Like our sexuality matters to how he created us. Mm-hmm. And so I think that that's definitely part of the conversation that we had, but also how we engage each other. And then the overarching story of scripture being metaphoric to marriage. And so there's a lot to discover about ourselves. There's a lot to discover about our relationship with God through sex. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, super fair. I would give it, at the very least, satisfactory on the grade school report cards.
Darn.
S.
S. Wait, I can't remember. I'm sorry. Satisfactory is good, right?
Yeah.
Like satisfactory is good. Okay. I always felt like the grade satisfactory was not satisfactory. It always felt like you made it. You did what you were supposed to do. Like A+ always felt like that's where it's at.
That's a different scale. A+ and satisfactory don't live on the same grading scale.
Okay, here's maybe this is where it bugs me, is that when I would do like choral competitions or theater competitions, the best score you could get was superior. And so I'm like, why did S not stand for superior? That's the grade that I want.
What was the scale in chorus?
Superior, best, and then excellent. And then I think under that is fair. And then I think under that now I'm blanking. It might have been like good, which wasn't really good. It was like superior, excellent, fair. There might be something in between excellent and fair. Now I'm forgetting.
Fair was better than good?
I think so.
Come on.
I might be wrong. Maybe it is the other way around. I haven't done it in so long.
Has to be.
It's been a long time. Okay. I might have it backwards. We'll have to check back in on that one next time.
You are so satisfactory, it is superior.
Wow.
That's what I'm talking about. When I call unsatisfactory, the cognate of satisfied inside that word,
wow,
that's what I'm reaching after. Yeah.
Now I feel better.
We spent some time talking about the image bearing, right? And how there's more going on than just mere imagery.
Yes.
Do you remember the conversation around the idolatry business there?
Yes. Because in the ancient world, if an idol was crafted, there was this idea of you formed it out of clay, and then the maker would breathe into it, and it was sort of a symbol of like breathing life into it. And so when God makes Adam from the dust, he gathers the dust all together, and then he breathes life into him. And so like we are God's image bearers. We are his idols in that way. And so why would we worship an idol when God has already created us to be in his image and we get to carry him with us? I don't know if that's the best way to put it, but
Yeah. Yeah. It's why idolatry is so busted. We can't do anything to make an intermediary or a representative for him because he already did it in the way that he made us. And so that we get to be that intermediary between heaven and earth. We are the bridge between realms. Crazy job description.
yeah.
We had to borrow a little bit from Genesis 2 when we were talking about that in Genesis 1. But the other big note from Genesis 1 is that God himself is also a sexual being.
Yeah.
Still a little unsettling.
Crazy. It almost sounds heretical to say that.
Yeah. If he's making us in his image and our being male and female is part of that image bearing, part of that idol residence that we are, then that means that he is first a sexual being. And so our being mammalian with our particular genitalia is still just a reflection of the ultimate spiritual reality of what it's like to be the Godhead. And that's the story we're carrying in our bodies. That's the story that we're continuing to reveal in our marriages. So we'll get even more into all that in Genesis 2 today, because I am certain people think that your voice is not just satisfactory, but superior.
Wow.
Yeah. Would you be so kind as to be our lectionary?
I would.
as it
I
were?
would. So Genesis chapter 2. So the heavens and the earth were completed along with their entire array. God completed on the seventh day his work that he made, and he ceased on the seventh day from all his work that he made. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, for on it he ceased from all his work that God created for the purpose of preparing. These are the genealogical records of the heavens and the earth when they were created at the time when Adonai Elohim made land and sky. Now no shrub of the field was in the land yet, and no green plants of the field had sprouted yet. For Adonai Elohim had not caused it to rain upon the land, and there was no one to work the ground. But a mist came up from the land and watered the whole surface of the ground. Then Adonai Elohim formed the man out of the dust from the ground, and he breathed into his nostrils a breath of life. So the man became a living being. Then Adonai Elohim planted a garden in Eden in the east, and there he put the man whom he had formed. Then Adonai Elohim caused to sprout from the ground every tree that was desirable to look at and good for food. Now the tree of life was in the middle of the garden, and also the tree of knowledge of good and evil. A river flowed out of Eden to water the garden. From there it divided and became 4 riverheads. The name of the first is Pishon, the one that winds around the whole land of the Havilah, where there is gold. The gold of that land is good. Bdellium and lapis lazuli stones are also there. The name of the second river is Gihon. It winds around the whole land of Cush. The name of the third is the Tigris. It runs east of Assyria, and the fourth river is Euphrates. Then Adonai Elohim took the man and gave him rest in the Garden of Eden in order to cultivate and watch over it. Then Adonai Elohim commanded the man, saying, "From all the trees of the garden you are most welcome to eat. But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you must not eat, for when you eat from it, you most assuredly will die." Then Adonai said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. Let me make a well-matched helper for him." Adonai Elohim has formed from the ground every animal on the field and every flying creature of the sky. So he brought them to the man to see what he would call them. Whatever the man called them, each living creature, that was its name. So the man gave names to all the livestock and to the flying creatures of the sky and to the animals of the field. But for the man, he did not find a well-matched helper for him. Adonai caused a deep sleep to fall on the man, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. Adonai built the rib which he had taken from the man into a woman. Then he brought her to the man. Then the man said, "This one at last is bone of my bones and flesh from my flesh. This one is called woman, and for from man was taken this one. This is why a man leaves his father and his mother and clings to his wife, and they become one flesh. Now both of them were naked, the man and his wife, and they were not ashamed."
Thanks be to God.
Thanks be to God.
What do we see initially about where the first man creature is made compared to where woman is brought out and made?
Yeah, so Adam isn't made in the garden initially, but Eve is.
Mm-hmm. Does that seem significant?
It does, and it's the first time I've noticed it in reading earlier when I was reading. I was like, oh, how have I never seen that before?
I want to be careful with absolutes because only the Sith deal in absolutes.
We don't need that.
We don't need that. There are some absolutes we deal with. I think the prevailing thing that we get to see is that the man creature is fashioned in the wild, and then the woman is brought out in a cultivated garden. So they have very different native habitats in that way. Now, the Adam is there when the woman is being brought out of him. And so it's not like he's completely alien to the garden, but his native habitat is in the wild and hers is in a gardenized space. So the only place where I want to be careful is it can easily turn into stupid reductionism because there are plenty of men that not only enjoy but are really good at gardening. And there are plenty of women that enjoy backpacking and camping and know all kinds of bushcraft and are super savvy. And yet, there's something essential about the wildness of a man and the garden of a woman. And I really want to know how upset that makes you.
I guess there's maybe a tiny bit of chafing. We're talking about what's in our nature, and not defining. So like I immediately chafe because I'm like, oh, I know the men that would be like, therefore stay at home, stay in the kitchen. Like that's like the part that I have to not hear. Because I was raised on jokes like that, which were super fun. But yeah, our nature tends to be to make a space. And again, that's not to say that like there aren't men who are really good interior decorators or anything like that.
Yep.
But generally, yeah, we are good at creating space and even if you're not an avid outdoor gardener, to be someone who makes a home. And for the man to be, I don't know, I feel like you would speak on that better, like defining those terms better, like what it means
as
to
the
be
man in this relationship.
As the man, the real live man in this relationship.
Yeah, it's different when we're not talking about abilities and instead are talking about essence. And so to say that I am more prone to certain sorts of things isn't denigrating you at all. Other way around, same thing. In spite of our culture's present lunacy, no amount of my wishing will ever make me capable of bearing a child. It doesn't matter what label I put on it. That is never going to happen. I will never have the ability to be a menstruating creature. So if that's true in my body, then it shouldn't be offensive to consider the possibility that there are other things that are just as true in our spirits.
Yeah.
In the way that we have just kind of natural trajectories in the way that we are wired. And so it's not offensive. It might be some hurtful. Like there are men when their wife has their first child, there's a longing where we see the bond that you get to have with them, where we know we're never going to be in that space. I will not lactate. So that particular bond isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm never going to know what it's like to physically sustain a child in that way. What happens on your brain's wavelengths when you and your infant child just look in each other's eyes?
The hormone exchange that happens.
So many
Wild.
things that mirror each other, things that I cannot by any act of will begin to duplicate. So these are just facts of reality.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm talking about those things that you do, I feel like I'm observing superpowers.
Mm.
And there's a little bit of jealousy. It's affectionate jealousy, but there's a little bit of jealousy there. Like, man, those are really cool superpowers that you get to have.
Mm.
Somewhere along the way, our culture started inverting it so that once we start talking about masculine superpowers, that becomes offensive.
Mm-hmm.
So all day long, we can
Yeah.
talk about the things that a woman can do unique to womanhood that a man can never become an interloper. If you do it the other way around, like you talked about the chafing, like
Yeah.
just approaching the language starts to offend the modern day feminine sensibilities.
It does, yeah. And I think too, there's also a sense in which women have, you know, a lot of the feminist movements have also downplayed the beauty and importance and wonder of the things that make us most feminine. And so the things like having children, like those things are downplayed and disregarded and treated like, no, those are not, like that they're not good.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's disturbing how far people take that. I saw a woman trying to make a case against homeschooling, and she was saying it should be disturbing when a woman wants to spend her whole day with her children. She said, I would rather crawl on broken glass to get my children to school than spend any extra time with them. And she says that it's disturbing when we want to stay home with our kids.
Sounds like a you problem, lady.
Like, wow. Yeah. So, but you know, her sentiment might seem in the extreme, but I think that it does speak to, on some level, a truth that is in that movement.
Yeah. Yeah. And you could say we see that playing out on both sides. We have a lot of cultural machinery being spent trying to dissuade women from the natural affections toward their children or even the prospect of children, and also continuing to make men embittered toward their vocation.
Mm.
So the things that are at the bottom of our calling and the things that are the most inimitable. Can women work? Yes. There's no world in which you're ever going to be as physically strong as I am.
Right.
And yet you are quite vigorous with your body, right? And so there's a little bit of seesawing, but the stuff that I was doing with the house, I don't think you would have been able to do those feats in that amount of time.
Yeah. For context, we live in a Victorian Queen Anne style house built in 1893. And this guy right here did an insane amount of work to get us in it. We had to gut it entirely. It was destined to be bulldozed by the city. And he got in there and made a really beautiful home for us.
I've had at least 8 years to wonder if we shouldn't have let the city bulldoze it. Because there were pains there.
A lot of pain.
Pains there.
I have bitterness to my vocation.
Thorns and thistles.
So we were talking about tendencies. We're talking about essence. We're not talking about, in all matters, things that you can't do and experience life in.
Yeah.
We have enjoyed backpacking together.
Right.
For a time, we even did it when there were little guys in play until we just didn't absorb that craziness anymore. There's been some camping with them now that we're in the teen years. Like that stuff's happening again. A lot of climbing. So like you like the outside.
Mm-hmm.
You like the wild. There's just a difference in how a man tends to come to life and to need that environment for the things that the bedrock of his masculinity, in contrast with the kind of cultivated space in which a woman is most likely to flourish. Those, I think, are the biggest differences. Now, you're having the best likelihood of flourishing is still not disqualifying other things that you could do in other environments. Is it less chafing when it's framed that way?
It is, and I would even say, when I go camping, even though we've done hiking, camping, we've done, like pull ups and like throw your tent in the place that has electric and water. Like I've done a little bit of everything. Even when I was a kid, when I was in Girl Scouts, we would go camping. So my Girl Scout troop leader was super great. She was ex-military, and so when we went camping, we got like the military grade canvas tents, and we learned how to pitch those, and it was always super cool, and we always felt like we were super tough. But as soon as that tent was pitched, we were gonna make it super cute.
Yeah.
Like that was gonna be the next thing, was we were gonna make it a space. And when I've gone camping with my girlfriends, it's like, we're gonna make a space. We're gonna make it cozy. We're gonna make sure we've got everything we need in place. Whereas I think that a man can just like pitch his tent and sleep and not think about anything else.
Yeah.
And we like creating a space.
Yeah, we're more thinking about tobacco,
Right.
not if it's pretty inside the vinyl.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to stay dry. We're good.
Yeah.
That is a cultivated space.
Mm-hmm.
There's a curation happening.
And even if it's not like a physically decorating thing, like we're creating the space to make memories. Like we were creating a space, not necessarily an interior decorated situation, but like we're going to make memories. We're going to bring that, like when I was a girl, it was like, we're going to bring magazines and we're going to do the magazine quizzes and do that sort of thing, even while we were roughing it.
Yep. Yeah, whereas same setting, dudes in play, we're thinking more about what is it we're trying to accomplish. Is there a mission? Is there a project? Is there something to be done?
Mm.
And that is what makes it, I think, differently challenging for both genders to do solitude, like proper solitude, to go into a place where there isn't any agenda. Like if I'm going to do it, I can't be thinking about mileage, right? There might be some light hikes, but the instant I'm like trying to accomplish something else, I'm defeating the purpose of what proper solitude and silence, and in as much as it can be had, stillness, like that continuum. Silence, stillness, and solitude, those cohere really well together as a continuum of disciplines. And so the same thing for the woman, if it turns into how cozy can I make this? And like, do I leave the place even prettier by the time it's like, we're getting out of the real project, the real work of solitude, stillness, silence. And so there's one where it becomes a pretty good pressure test for each gender and how they're prone to act in the environment, right? And that's going to happen the best in nature. If you got a cabin, that's okay, but like kind of rustic, off the grid, no noise, unless it's natural noise. Like that's where all the wonderful solitude things happen.
Right.
And then both natures are going to have to resist some of their impulses there to just be at that rest where that really penetrating quiet can begin to go to work. All right. We could obviously talk about just that for a long time. The main thing is that I am a wild man. That's what we exegete from that part of the passage. And you were happy for this arrangement.
I'd say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any other thoughts on that before we move on?
Oh, I just want to apologize that I probably like butchered all of the names of the rivers and the places as I was reading. I was like, oh, I forgot to think about that.
Nobody minds.
Okay.
Nobody minds. Well, you talked about the way we get to see the reenactment of an idol making in the way that the first human is made.
Yes.
And so we have idol making mentioned in the creation account in Genesis 1.
Yeah.
And then we have idol making enacted in the creation account in Genesis 2. Genesis 1, we're getting a 30,000 foot view of everything God's doing with a planet and then a person, kind of people in a planet. Chapter 2 zooms in on the garden. And then we see this person brought to the garden, and now humanity is beginning as Eve is separated from Adam. But because we've talked about it, it's part of the culture of our home. This obviously isn't new to you. The thing that is revelatory to so many people and was a big deal when it was introduced to us is the particularities of what's going on with the language, where when God puts this Adon creature to sleep, and we always grew up hearing about God taking the rib out of the Adam. Without getting like really deep into it, people can go investigate this on their own time, use the Bible gateways, all the things. The translation isn't the most helpful here, and it is kind of weird Hebrew, admittedly. But it's not so much that God took something out of Adam's middle. It's not that God took a rib out of Adam's middle. It's more like God split the Adam down the middle. As our old friend used to joke, God was the first person to split the atom. Ha, ha, ha. But this changes it. This changes the way we imagine. We don't have a man who then is one rib short and God does God magic and turns the rib into a woman.
Right.
If God is splitting this Adam creature down the middle, well, that's a different thing to imagine, because now we have a creature that originally was somehow simultaneously and fully male and female at once.
Yeah.
And then God puts that creature to sleep, separates them, and at the end we have a male and a female separate from each other.
It's difficult because like I want to use the word androgynous, but it's like that's like part and part.
Right.
This is like whole and whole.
Yep. Yeah. And it is perplexing. It's baffling language. The sages, for all of their fluency with Hebrew, they would marvel at this passage and they would come up with renderings that they knew were bizarre. But what else can you do when this is primeval, really strange language? They said if you had seen the first Adam from the front, he would have looked male. And if you had seen her from behind, she would have looked female. And you kind of, is this a creature that has two faces?
Yeah.
Is that what's happening?
Right.
Or is it just a totally different kind of, quite literally superhuman? You know, this is something that is not anything we've seen the likes of before. It doesn't seem like it's something that has two minds exactly.
Yeah.
Because we don't get any mention of dispute or deliberation in the name of the animals,
right.
You know, and then that this creature would be alone. So there's strangeness happening, but I think what we're seeing is a theme that had been established in Genesis 1, playing out again in Genesis 2. So in Genesis 1, and this comes from Francis Schaeffer, he says, we have a theme of division playing throughout all of Genesis. And so at very first, when God makes the universe, it is just a mess of chaos and noise, the tohu and the bohu. And then he starts separating things. And so we've got the light being separated from the darkness. And then we've got the creation of heavenly bodies that are themselves luminary sources. So light precedes anything like sun and stars, but it's being separated. And then when bodies for these things are made, they're brought back into an integrated unity. It happens again with the planet. At first, it's just like this ball of spirit mud. And then God starts separating the sky from the land, from the sea. And so all those elements were there. Now they're separated. And when he brings them back together, it's a different kind of coherent whole. Time is being separated. And then you're getting festivals and you're getting Shabbat. And now these things are separated, but now they're also together in a different kind of coherent whole. And so we see God making a thing, separating it from itself, and then bringing it back into a different kind of unity that is somehow better than its previously inadequate singularity. And that's the very thing we see happen with people. Adam and Eve somehow were in the same creature, and then God separates them. And then being separated, he gives them a means to come back as one. And that kind of unity is somehow better than the previously inadequate singularity of Adam and Eve being indivisible. And now we have an arrangement where they are one, but oneness is not sameness.
and their distinctions are somehow better celebrated in this separate unification. Is that still weird to you for all the time we've spent with it?
Maybe not as weird. I think the longer I sit in it, the better I like it. Because it, some of the narrative that I was brought up on always felt like the woman was made lesser. There was always just like a little bit of like domination going on in the way the woman was portrayed. I think one of my favorite descriptions of woman, and you have to help me with this a little bit, the idea of being equal but opposite in power.
Yep. Yeah, I'm really glad you took it there.
Cool.
So I was just thinking, I believe it's the Ezer Kenegdo. Ezer Kenegdo. Yeah. And that's another strange pairing. She is his equal and his opposite at the same time. I hate when I'm at a wedding ceremony and the pastor keeps using the language help meet. Like anybody has ever had any understanding of what that word's supposed to mean.
Like if I'm cleaning the kitchen, I'm like, gosh, I wish I had a help meet in the kitchen.
No, like that's the only setting where you ever hear the word. It never means anything.
It doesn't mean anything.
But it's like it's a holy word to use. Like it's one of them sanctimonious moments. Bugs me a lot. Maybe it meant something in the day where they were writing the King James version of it. Nowadays, nobody has any clue. But it also it continues to sound like subjugation language, right?
Yeah.
It's like I don't think I've ever heard a woman be excited about the designation help meet. It doesn't sound flattering.
It doesn't sound flattering
at all.
It would be just as flattering for you to say like the help, like, oh, you're the help.
The help.
Cool.
Get the help out of here. Whereas to be unequal and opposite in power, that's different. And it's going to be difficult. Like this is something, it's like, okay, even before understanding, I'm getting an estimation of the cost there. Like there's going to be some negotiation here.
Yeah.
Maybe some blood. I don't know what's in store, but that already starts to crackle with this is going to be a big story.
Yeah.
Do you have other thoughts on that? Because you brought up, you said, let's talk about it.
Oh, well, just mostly the idea of it in general, which...
when you say in general, you remind me that term is also used later on in the Tanakh for actual military generals. And so the kind of power that's being evoked.
Oh.
Yeah. One of those terms refers to a military commander. It's like, that's the kind of power that we're talking about. And so a lot of husbands might be disturbed when God is telling Adam, we're going to make you an Ezer Kenegdo, that there's any connotation of a potent military commander in that. It's like, we're not talking about a hapless, helpless, female that needs all the rescuing all the time. I think when we're watching this, I have to be careful here because speaking of Trinitarian things has a way of getting you into trouble, especially when you apply anything metaphoric to it. Somehow, any metaphor that has ever been used to try to help people imagine the Trinity has been deemed a heresy, and you get in a lot of trouble if you use any of those metaphors. At the same time, I think that I'm appealing to a metaphor that God himself has set aside, in that he made us in his image. That is metaphor language. He made us as his living idols in creation. And so when we are understanding ourselves, we are understanding, at least in part, what it's like to be him. And so somehow God, in his essence, is a creature of oneness, but also a creature of not complete sameness. I shouldn't say a creature, a being. God is a being of oneness, but also a being of distinction, which is exactly what people are talking about when they invoke the language of the Trinity. One essence, three persons. We see the first Adam being a creature of one essence, but then ostensibly
two divisible people. And when those two people come together, they are, again, this one creature. So there's oneness while there's also distinction. And that's the beauty of the story that we get invited to. And when we're doing that in marriage, our marriage is telling the world the story of what it's like to be humanity in life with God. He's giving us this, one, because it's fun. When he says, be fruitful and multiply, we have to remember he's saying, go have sex, make babies. Like that's the first thing that humanity gets as a homework assignment. God's pretty gracious in the homework that he gives us. And also, we are continuing to reveal what it is like to be him and to be in life with him. And being permitted to have some fun along the way while we do it. You and I, having some 21 years together now, we have found a bunch of places where our wild differences are either going to be caustic or they're going to be complementary. And our work has been trying to resolve that stuff. There used to be things that were super irritating or baffling or what in the actual what. And then in time, it becomes a gift. Both of us being musical creatures, we have a lot of overlap in the music that we enjoy. A lot.
Yeah.
A lot of music that we've shared, a lot of music that we've made. There's, in our Venn diagram of music, there's a lot of space in the middle where we're all the way together. And then there's also been stuff where you love the choral arrangements. Love them.
Yeah.
You could do that stuff all day. I can't appreciate it, and I can like that you like it. It doesn't exactly do anything for me. There are times where I'll go like, that's really beautiful, and I don't care if I ever revisit it.
Right.
On my side, bebop jazz just cuts all the way through me, and it drives you crazy. Now, it used to be in the early years, we were perturbed by each other's preferences in that regard.
Yeah, that's very true.
Now, these years later, we haven't come all the way to like loving it to the same degree that the other person loves it, because it's okay that we have our own little distinctions there.
Yeah.
But we have come a lot further in liking that the other person likes it and more wanting to understand the why. So you probably, I don't know if I should say probably. I'm not going to say probably. We'll just say maybe. There might not ever be a Charlie Parker solo that lasts for 5 minutes that makes you go, oh, and you're just like all the way there for it. That might not ever happen. But to watch what happens to me when I am just in that world and I'm coming out with, let me tell you what all happens. And like, I can kind of like take you on a tour of that exploration. You like that. You like my notes about it.
Yeah.
More than you want to go for the ride yourself.
Right.
That.
Yeah.
That is us being very different creatures, revealing the world to each other with our perspectives and continually becoming the kind of one where, yes, there's distinctions. Yes, there's difference and also continual oneness. I think that's been a big part of our story together is what used to be friction eventually becomes more polished.
Yeah, it's like that thing that I was telling you about, Jay Stringer. He talked about, most people want the cozy relationship, but healthy relationships are like sandpaper to really work on those things. Yeah, we often use iron sharpening iron as an idea for like you're going to butt heads with somebody, but that's how you grow, that's how you change, that's how you flourish. Without the sandpaper elements, life doesn't go very smoothly, if you will.
Yeah. And in the iron sharpening iron aspect of it, there again, you have two different instruments of the same kind. And it's going to take comparable hardness for them to have any effect on each other.
Right.
And I like it a lot that when the master says to take his yoke upon him, because his yoke is easy, his burden is light. When he says that, he's double clicking on Old Testament language where we have commandments. You're not allowed. It is a violation of Torah to yoke two unlike creatures to each other.
Right.
You can't yoke an ox to a donkey. And most, like, a lot of people read and they're like, these are just bizarre commands where God is always testing the Jewish people. So he'll see if they'll do weird stuff out of them. It's like, no, there's always love. When the master said on these commandments hang all the Torah and the prophets, that means everything has something to do with love. So find the love. A farmer will tell you, if you have an ox and a donkey pulling together, it's going to be cruel to one or both of those creatures. The donkey's not going to keep up with the ox very well. Or the weirdness of the way the yoke is going to sit on them, it's going to hurt the ox. Like, is it pulling him down? Like, this is just not a good arrangement. They don't belong there with each other. For the master to say that we get to take his yoke on us means that he is the same kind of creature as us. Like, that's a big statement for the incarnation. I really like how the church fathers played it out. I think it was Irenaeus. He said that he became what we are, that he might make us what he is himself. And there's another marriage invocation in the story. All this grand stuff that God did with creation, from the very beginning, it has only ever been about inviting us into intimacy with him. We fast forward, get to where incarnation stuff has happened, beautiful life, all the teachings through the passion, the resurrection, and still this continual beckoning of humanity, trying to pull all mankind into that life with him. The story has only ever been about this: you get to be you, and I get to be me. And there's something even better in the us being us. But it's not the kind of usness that absolves our individuality. Instead, it's amplified. It's even more realized.
And some of the friction of marriage is we have our own will and we have our own way. And so those things that make us individuals and we're trying to come together, some of the friction happens when, like, how can you be this way?
Yeah.
Why are you like this? And learning to either grow or accept, like, this is actually part of what makes him him or what makes her her. And it's actually not bad. How can I live with this? Or not, how can I live with this? I don't know if there's a better way to put that. But how can we flourish together with all of these things that make us separate and unique, but also one?
Yeah. One of the poems that we like: to fill one another's cups, but drink not from the same cup. Continually learning how to respect those differences, to make space for each other, even as we're coming into this curated, cultivated space together. And there's a bit of paradox there. To say that we're becoming one, and also these distinctions are going to be forever. That there's something like a boundary between us, but we're also supposed to be permeable. I find, I live in metaphor. I'll understand a thing analogously, or I won't understand it. But the passage in Job where it says, "This far the way shall come and no farther." God speaking a boundary for the seas. When you're at the beach, you don't feel division. And yet the beach is a line where we just celebrate the boundary between earth and sea. I love surfing, and surfing only happens because of that boundary between earth and sea. You've got this wave that has traveled for thousands of miles, and now it's coming to the point where it's going to end. Technically, it's just going to go back thousands of miles the other direction. But from our perspective, this is where the wave of energy ends, at the place where it is not permitted to go any farther. And then it goes back. It's like, we're not feeling the havoc of, I wish all this was without boundaries.
Right.
The boundaries is what makes it beautiful.
We are glad that the beach is what it is.
Yeah. And that's, I think, a geographical kind of expression of marriage. We are never going to be the same, in that if I'm land and you're sea, we're not going to inhabit each other's place. Even as we're joined together, and also breathing the same atmosphere, which is happening all the time. We are only ever beneath the same sky together. To another 21 years of earth and land or sky, or earth.
Bloody grief. Now it sounds like I'm trying to say earth, wind, and fire. Sea, land, and sky. That's what I wanted.
There we go.
Time with you. That's mostly what I'm
That's what
saying.
it is, yes.
Time with you.
Mm-hmm. Stay at the beach.
Is there, I want to be sensitive to the place where maybe I have rankled many a woman in all this talk.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any edits, any additions, any don't ever do that agains?
I don't think so. It's all really tricky language because the sex revolution did what it did. Feminism has done what it's done. And it's really hard to even consider some of these things without just feeling a little bit. And for me, it's not, I'm obviously not super combative, but there are those little things in me that like, I don't know if I like that. And like I think most women have, it's like core memories for us, that it's sometimes it's hard to tell men about like, no, you don't understand what it's like to walk through the world and not know if a dude is going to just say something to you that's lewd and you didn't ask for that.
Yeah.
And you weren't broadcasting, or to expect for someone to say something very sexist or misogynistic to you that is just not fair. And so like the joke that I heard growing up was like, why are women's feet shorter than men's so they can, stand closer to the counter in the kitchen or whatever? And it was like, it's not even a joke. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So
while they're doing a thing that a man very much appreciates that she's doing.
Right.
It's like, why are you going to make fun of her for preparing a meal for you?
Yeah.
Why is this a derogatory thing?
Yeah. Yeah, get out of here. Get the help out. So yeah, it's difficult because on the one hand, there's like bad culture that's informing it, like bad feminism and that, and then there's also bad church teaching that's informing it. And so from like both angles, the angle from the people that I don't trust and the angle from the people that I'm supposed to have trusted, have given me some like false messages on my own femininity and what it means to be a woman. The biology parts aren't difficult for me, but sometimes the essence stuff can bug me. And I am someone who doesn't necessarily fit a lot of typical feminine norms, and I don't mean that in what my girls would call like pick me. I'm not a pick me. I'm not like the other girls. There's nothing like that going on. It's just we regularly have the experience where we're hanging out with a couple, and you will relate to the woman's emotional sensitivities, and I'll often relate to a man's emotional sensitivities. You are more naturally empathetic than I am. It takes me more work to go, what would it be like to be in their shoes? Whereas I think many women, I think a vast majority of women have the natural intuitive empathy going on. It's just something that I've had to learn. Maybe it's trauma informed, maybe it's just how I was made. But and so when anytime we're talking about like gender roles or gender essences, there are parts of me that for many years of my life I felt like there was something wrong with me. Being able to accept like, okay, there isn't like one kind of woman and there isn't one kind of man, and yet I feel at home in these places that make me a woman. So it's like you kind of have to take all the information and shake it out a little bit. But I'm not upset. I don't have lingering bitterness going on or anything like that.
It's become a running joke between us. The amount of times we're with a couple where the roles are reversed and you will speak his language and I will decode her language, and we're kind of on opposite sides of this quadrilateral arrangement.
Yeah.
I think likely those stories will come out as we continue inhabiting this space together, and it'll probably be observable. And even though it's a little bit reversed, it's still demonstrating the thing that we're talking about, where the parts where it's difficult is the parts where the work happens. And this has been our assignment in the way that we are unique in our marriage, continuing to learn to speak each other's languages and to meet those boundaries well in our unification. So that, we're listening to a David Wilcox song where he's telling a story, and it's the played up argument between boyfriend and girlfriend, and I'm the girl in the way that argument goes.
I was just having lunch with a friend a few weeks ago, and she was talking about some things that were issues that she's having in her marriage. And I would talk about maybe similar things that we've been through before. And at one point she says, yeah, I got to be honest. Sometimes the way you play it out, you sound more like my husband. I'm just like, that's how it always goes.
Yeah. There have been times where if you and I were in a bad stretch and I was confiding in one of the very few trusted friends that could ever have been part of that conversation, I would get mad. I would get mad how quickly they would be on your side. Like, not exactly taking your side, but still kind of on your side. And then one of them just straight admitted one day, he's like, I sympathize with Adena because I just kind of want you to be forgiving with her the way I want my wife to be forgiving with me. And so there's like this vicarious sort of all right, I know what side I'm on, so I'm rooting over there. I'm not rooting against you, but I'm rooting over there. It's like, I'm not telling you stuff anymore, man. I'm a conversation partner here.
I won't be here anymore.
Yeah. We're doing okay. I think this is a good time to pitch Proven Wives as a call to action at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
You've been getting a lot of activity lately.
It's been crazy.
A lot of people reaching out to you with questions, confusions, a lot of hurt stories.
Yeah, man.
Can you present that a little bit?
Yeah. So Proven Wives is our curriculum that we have for women who are on the receiving end of betrayal trauma. So a lot of times they have discovered their husband's pornography addiction. There are times where they've discovered affairs, lots of illicit things. And so they are trying to sort out their heart. Sometimes they're coming to us when their husband is repentant and she's trying to rebuild. Sometimes, and this is just a difficulty that I'm having to face regularly, is that he's not, that he doesn't think it's a big deal. And she's like, what do I do next? And the ultimate truth of the matter in the places where we are separate but together is that you cannot force your significant other to change. You cannot. They have to want it for themselves. But you can take care of your own heart and your own soul and your own relationship with the Lord. And so that is what Proven Wives is all about. It was written from a lady who went through betrayal trauma herself. And it's really just a beautiful study. 8 weeks, and you are dealing with everything in your own heart. How to forgive, how to take a look at how God views you, all the places in you that he's wanting to redeem and bring into a beautiful place again. One of my favorite verses from Isaiah, he will turn your wastes to Eden. So those places in you that just feel dead. I think that God wants to bring back alive, and I think Proven Wives is really good at that. And I have had the privilege of sitting in on a recent development is that we've got a couple groups of ladies, and it seems like more are doing it. Proven Wives are meeting together. For a long time, it's just been a study that a wife has bought for herself, or she's doing it alongside of her husband as he's going through our Proven Men study. But now there's groups of women meeting together, and they're confiding in each other. And I was invited into a session with some ladies who were meeting, and oh my goodness, the way they surrounded each other, the way they were encouraging each other, even a couple of like gentle admonishments. It was really beautiful. And I was just, they invited me in, and they're like, oh, do you have any notes? And I was like, no notes. You guys are amazing. I'm just really proud of all of you for coming together as a group and taking it out of the darkness. And I think that's the biggest thing. with so much sexual dysfunction is that it's hiding in the dark. And so many wives that are coming to us with those hurts they're just so embarrassed. They're so embarrassed because we want to be able to present ourselves as this wonderful, happy couple.
Mhm.
And then there's this ugly, ugly truth. And so to destigmatize it, to bring it into the light, is the only way it gets dealt with. And so that is what Proven Wives is all about. I love talking to the Proven Wives, even for the places where there's a lot of hurt, that they are continuing to seek the Lord and want healing and want their marriage to be restored, where it's possible.
Mm.
I'm just really excited to walk through that and to help somebody find peace in their own soul.
Yeah. For wives, for fiancés, for girlfriends, even.
Yep.
I have even had moms use that devotional so that they could better understand their own sons.
So as I've done it, because I don't have the experience of betrayal trauma with you, as I've been reading through it, I've honestly thought about stuff from my childhood, like my own dad, like the things that have hurt me in the past and the way my parents' marriage went. It's just been helpful to more fully understand his story, their story, my story, as it is wrapped up in it. And so I do have some betrayal trauma. It's just not from you. Thanks for that, by the way.
I'm very nice to my Ezer Kenegdo.
So that's Proven Wives. Email me. Let's talk. Get the book.
We will link that so it's easily findable in the show notes. And in the meantime, we'll keep working on our grand unification project. We'll visit Genesis 3 the next time.
I'm excited.
Thank you for remaining.
Thank you for continuing to invite me in.